Can you just tell people who you are, what this business is that you run, and the ethos of it in 2 minutes?
2 minutes. Okay, I'm Maurice Lisi. I am the brewer, the farmer and the maltster here in Canada's Brewery. And we are a small farmhouse brewery. We brew seasonal beers and small batch beers based on our surroundings. So we use herbs and spices, we grow our own grain, malt it here on the farm. We harvest our own energy in terms of a wood-fired boil kettle. We have an electricity generator from the river, and we grow our own hops, and the water comes from the well. So the idea is to produce single source beers. So sourcing all the ingredients and energy here on the farm and try and produce interesting beers. St. Patrick came to Ireland bringing clover. It's also for agriculture, so clover fixes nitrogen. So rather than using lots of energy to make synthetic nitrogen and capture it and spread it, we can grow clover, and the clover fixes nitrogen naturally using bacteria. 50 years ago when they found, hey, we spread this nitrogen, we grow lots of crops, this is amazing. But you were burning carbon.
I see.
And we actually now want to try and lock more carbon back in this. Biochar is charcoal. When you make charcoal, you burn off the volatile gases and you leave behind a solid part of this wood. You've burnt off some of the energy, but you've left behind a good bit of the carbon. What's cool about that is that's a home for microbes. End up adding the biochar into this. We're trying to reduce the amount of synthetic fertilizer that we're using and use more natural slurries. This is a trailing shoe.
Oh, so this will make like a little hole on the ground and leaves it directly on the soil.
Yeah, exactly. So we're planting grass seeds and clover and chicory and plantain. Drill?
This method, direct drill.
Direct drill. This means we don't plough, so when we plough we burn carbon and we destroy the bacteria and fungi, its web of everything. Whereas this way you're just adding more seed to the mix.
So this is no dig
Yeah.
at large scale.
Exactly. From the woodlands we get the timber which produces heat. From the river we generate electricity through an Archimedes screw. As the water flows through the farm it loses height, and something heavy, that's energy. They come to an age and then a disease becomes an issue, and then
Because
they're
the
in
disease
decline.
attacks the tree that's already a bit weak.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we came and harvested that, so that's our fuel. So now what's interesting is now you can see light in your in the canopy. So now there's more light here, some new trees will grow. So this is the importance of sustainability of woodlands, is if you manage the woodland to make sure there's always a tree growing, then you can make your trees, your wood, sustainable. Whereas if you're not managing it, it doesn't mean that that wood is sustainable, because if you cut the tree and don't replace it, then you're harvesting, you're extracting, you're not
replacing.
There were trees here, and look, there's another one that's died. So this would have been taken out 2 or 3 years ago, and now you see we would have planted some of this. So now there's light, so now there's briars, so that means flowers, so now butterflies and bees and everything get flowers. But amongst that, trees will start growing up and they'll fill that space. So this is natural regeneration. Transition point between two things are where you get lots of wildlife, because you get lots of change. So the edge of a woodland is very diverse. That transition point, like doing dancing and coming into farming.
Oh my gosh! I was just thinking that. I was like, I'm going to say something so clever right now for the camera.
Okay, so a forest bath is you lie down on the ground and you stare up at a tree.
Oh, so then you get the grain.
So that's the grain at the top. So we're going to be trashing it. We grow our own grain and we grow our own heritage crops. Heritage crops have more flavour, they've less yield. See, so this is heritage and this is modern. And it's all about the soil. Having nice healthy soil, that's how we can look after our crops and produce really nice malt. Plant in the springtime, harvest in the autumn time, store it, and then we malt it here as well.
Your friend and you go, can you just design this new thing?
Well, something will come up. I will think about it for a good while and come up with something. But
Okay.
it is you see the way you were like, no, you can't sell it.
Yeah.
It is the mindset that you're like, no, you can't just do something. And
I know.
you know what I mean? It's
like with food, I'm thinking, what, you just do it? Yeah, you just do it.
do it. Why not?
Great. You just does it?
So when we were brewing today, we brought that grain. We started with lighting Mad Max. It's very important. So we needed hot water.
Maurice calls this Mad Max.
Yeah.
Why?
That's a bit mad, isn't it? And when we were starting to brew, the idea was, where do we get our energy? Do we use oil? Do we use gas? Do we use timber from the woodlands? So very simply, this is a stove, fire underneath, pot inside, and basically we light the fire to heat the pot to boil the beer. So once we'd crushed the grains, we mixed that with hot water. We made a big porridge, essentially, a big mash, what you call it. And you were stirring it, mixing it. So we put all of that together and we held it there at 65 degrees for 1 hour. So that was to convert the starches there into sugar. So that's, after 1 hour, we then started draining that out and we pumped it back into Mad Max. And that's at the stage that we're at right now. Is Mad Max is full, so we're boiling we're going to get that up to a boil. We're going to boil it for an hour. And that's where we add the hops. So Mad Max works as well because Mad Max can be angry, you know.
Yeah.
You need to be careful not to add too much hops at one time.
Oh, right, okay. You need to feel Mad Max. Yeah.
The hops give us the bitterness, so we have the sweetness from the malt and we have the bitterness from the hops. After that, we will pump it back from Mad Max. But this will be just a little, because I want the little bit of floral and the little bit of this, and just enough so that you're drinking a stout now. Something in the background.
Okay,
Do you know what I mean?
okay.
That you're
So what's this called?
sweet gale.
Sweet Gale.
Yeah. Bog myrtle is another name for it. But it's an ancient brewing herb. This would be used before hops were.
Okay.
So now we're using another. This
Can I have
is
it?
meadow sweet. Yeah.
We got this earlier. Do I just literally...
Yeah, you can take it out and throw it in.
This feels so weird. We just got this from the fields earlier. This feels so strange.
Well, but it's. How do you make beer that's of the area?
Yeah, exactly. Connected to the area.
So you could buy this dried and processed and everything, or
Yeah.
we'll cool it down and we'll pump it into an oak barrel. So this beer will be flat, so basically there'll be no carbonation to it. But once we take it out of the barrel, we will then package it, we'll add sugar to it, and we'll put it into package, and the yeast will feed off that sugar and re-ferment within the package. So that's what will give it its fizz. So when you open,
Oh yeah, it's quite cool now. It's really nice. I think this is going to be a great beer. It's floral.
there
It's
is
great. My beer. Our beer.
Yeah.
This is great.
Right now we are in our barrel room. So we brew in stainless steel and we brew in oak barrels. So it depends on the type of beer and what it wants to be, basically. The beauty of stainless steel is that you can clean it and make it all sterile and put in a beer, and you can add a certain yeast strain or something, and you can control the temperature. Barrels are the opposite. They take time, minimum 6 months to 12 months. They've got a porous structure that you can have your own, what we call a culture. It's a culture of yeast and bacteria, like a Scooby and kombucha. Once you fill it with beer and you have yeast and bacteria there, there's a culture there in the barrel. You can kind of change the direction. You can use more hops and you can favor certain species over others, but you can't just kind of go blank canvas, start again. You know, it's so that's, you're on a journey with a barrel. The beer in these barrels are all mixed cultures. So they got Saccharomyces, Brettanomyces, Pediococcus, all these different species of yeast and bacteria. And what's cool about that is that you have lots of different flavors, and a lot of those yeasts are slow growing yeasts. They take time. And that's why I say minimum 6 months. You probably have noticed that mixed culture, mixed species, diversity. There's all these different trends that actually come into each element of what we're doing, from the farm, from the woodlands, from the malting into the brewery. To me, you get more flavour from having multiple species of yeast. And it's that same thing. It's better to have more diversity and more mixture. And that's Yeah, that's maybe a little bit of ethos. We were used to be bottles and we're kind of transitioning towards cans. Cans are lighter, and so they say they're actually more sustainable because the less weight means less transport, and it means they're a bit more efficient, and it's just easier for transport. And when you look at our cans, we've actually kind of purposely not put the brand Canvas Brewery.
No.
All you can see is the artwork. So some people are like, oh, it means it's hard to recognize you. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but you have to recognize each beer as its own thing. Amateurs, even people from Instagram, you're just like, hey, that looks cool. Kind of contact me like, weird question, but do you mind if we use this on a beer label or something like that, you know? So some people have volunteered and said, hey, can I do some artwork? And you're like, yeah, of course, that's the point, is, you know, do some artwork, we'll put it on a beer and you'll be able to see it there out in the world. We're doing things very differently. Our goal isn't just to pump out more beer and make more money. Our goal is to actually make things sustainable in terms of agriculture, in terms of how we source energy, in every facet of what we do. That it's a bigger goal or a bigger mission, do you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
Which someday we might achieve it, but you know,
You're on the way.
we're on the path. There'll be lots of robust flavours,
Right.
but then there'll be some subtle
Earthy, and then these
little floral.
accents. I'm talking like I know anything about this. I really don't.
But it's
good. It smells good. We will be able to drink it in 6 months' time.
Oh no,
A year?
it'll be. Yeah, it'll probably be a year.
year,
Or so, because
okay.
we're going into winter now.
But yeah, we could come up with something that marks this process actually, that is about instant distance and
would
yourself
be-
and me
yeah.
and
It'll be a year. It would be fun. It'll be a year later. Do you know? It
yes,
would be.
a year later. Yeah, exactly.
It'll
So
be-
we can. Yeah. Let's do that. Yes, a year later.
We'll be revisiting it.